Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AMA session conducted by SaaS Whispers. We are here to bring you the latest buzz from around the world of everything SaaS. I'm Mina Joseph, and today we're thrilled to have with us Todd Dekkinga, an IT leader and Chief Information Security Officer at Sturi. With over 25 years of experience in IT, Todd has become a force to be reckoned within the cybersecurity world. He has worked with several high growth organizations and modernizing IT departments for companies like Air Gap Networks, Armis, Genomic Health, and more. Let's just say he's had a lot of experience protecting some pretty valuable data. Todd is here to answer all your burning questions about cybersecurity, and we're sure he's got some great stories to share along the way. On that note, let's jump into the session. The first question being, as a CISO, how do you ensure that the SaaS solutions an organization uses are compliant with the relevant data protection regulations?
Yeah, well, that's a tough one. It's a very difficult thing to do. The first step, you can see if the company is GDPR compliant. However, with all these app integrations and APIs and other ways to interconnect apps, it's a very difficult process to prove that you are actually following the GDPR regulations, because you can connect an API, data can travel out, and you don't necessarily know where it's going. So you would need some kind of solution that's constantly monitoring all of your SaaS apps, the data flow, kind of the access control list, who has elevated access, and just kind of monitor all the connections that are available to those apps.
Great. Thanks for that, Todd. So on to the next question. How can businesses ensure that their employees are properly trained on the secure use of SaaS applications? Or is there any sort of training that is involved into this?
Well, this one's kind of tricky because it's more of a compliance versus security question. So the best solution we have right now is security awareness training. And we should probably do that on a regular basis and really focus it on what your company is doing and what kind of applications your company is using, and be real specific, not just phishing training and things like that. But as I alluded to, it's a compliance thing more than security, because if you want your SOC 2, your ISO, name the compliance, security awareness training is part of that compliance. And so we just need to find a better way to extend security out to the end user community. And I still think it's security's job to secure all these applications so that the end user does not have to worry about it as much. Obviously, people should be trained for their personal lives so they don't click on phishing emails and get all their money stolen and whatever other consequences there are from clicking on bad links. But it's a tough situation right now, so there's not really one good answer for that. It's a work in progress, I'll call it.
Sure, Todd. So the next question is, I think this is a very important question because since SaaS is on the rise, how does it affect the traditional IT infrastructure and cybersecurity practices? Could you name a few practices that are involved in this?
Sure. For both IT and security, it's just created a lot more chaos. Because in the old days, everything was contained behind your four walls. In your office, you had your servers in there, you had your applications in there. In order to bring up a new application, an end user wouldn't be able to install it. You'd have to go to IT, who'd have to install, configure, purchase it, all this stuff, right?
Yep.
Now today with SaaS and AWS, Azure, GCP, now I could just spin up an application for free. I sign up for a free account. I can sign up for almost any SaaS application for free, or freemium, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't require a credit card. It doesn't require procurement. So it's kind of a nightmare for IT and security trying to figure out what is in your inventory, what people are using. So not only is it important to be able to identify all the hardware assets that are in your company, but also your software assets, because if some dev is signing up for some free dev SaaS tool, but it's not compatible with the rest of your stack, or it has some misconfigurations, or it has vulnerabilities, it could affect the rest of your environment. And so it's just harder to discover all these. So that's why you need something like Zuluri to at least find all of your application portion of that. But things are a lot different, and they're going to continue to be different. And we just have to adapt. And so if you're an old school IT person, you have to keep learn about cloud, AI, ML, SaaS, everything.
Right. That information was very informative, Todd. Thanks for that. So coming to the next question, a lot of companies are trying to resolve the rise of shadow IT in their organizations. So could you give us a few insights on how can we manage the risk of shadow IT, that is employees using unauthorized SaaS applications, and how to ensure that all the SaaS usage is visible and secure?
I mean, it's impossible to secure what you don't know about, like I mentioned for the last question. Same goes with SaaS.
Yep.
If you don't know your SaaS applications and what people are using, it could cause problems. So for example, I worked at a company 4 or 5 years ago, and I noticed that we had 5 different project management SaaS applications. So I was like, yeah, we probably don't need that. So I had one of our consultants go and do a software asset management, where he basically went out and talked to all the department heads, figured out all the software everybody was using. He came back to me with a spreadsheet and said, hey, look, we have 250 applications. He had it all in a spreadsheet with a pivot table. He showed me who the users were, all that good stuff, right? And then this is about the year when all these SaaS management tools started coming out. So I tried one, and as soon as I plugged it in, we found over 750 applications in our environment. And so that was a big eye-opener to us, and we had to deal with it. But without that visibility and not knowing what you have, it's almost impossible to manage it. And so that's where a SaaS management product like Zuluri would come in to help you find all of that shadow IT.
Yeah. So the next question is, what role do you see SaaS playing in the future of cybersecurity, and how can organizations best prepare for this future?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out, because right now cloud computing and SaaS has been taking over for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
We still don't have the best solution to secure that or manage it. We are getting a lot better at it. But everything is publicly accessible now. Again, it's not behind our 4 walls, so we don't have a lot of control over it, much less access to those applications, right? Now, not everybody has to use a corporate laptop to access corporate resources. They can use anything. They can use an iPad, your phone, any BYOD device to access corporate resources, which is not good. So there are solutions to get around that, but not everybody's doing it. And it's just going to be a difficult task. And now with AI and containers and all this stuff that exists today, it's just going to make it more and more difficult. So I'm not sure what the future is going to hold and what it's going to look like in 10 years from now. But we just have to keep adapting and learning to figure out how to get there and secure all that. But I don't have the right answer for that at all.
Got it, Todd. So you being a CISO yourself, how do you think the role has shifted in the recent years? Do you think there's like a decade ago was it different, and now that you see that everything is on the rise, what are your thoughts on this on your role at the moment?
So the role of the CISO has changed a lot, and it's kind of a new role too over the last 20 years. Security has always been part of IT because I've always been an IT person, and security was just a subset of my responsibilities. But now security is its own role. You see a lot of CISOs reporting to the CEOs. CISOs are now getting board positions. So the role has changed a lot. And we went to, again, I'll bring up the four wall scenario. We went from protecting everything behind the four walls to now we have to protect everything. Now there's cloud infrastructure, end users. There's a lot of product companies, so we have to protect the product. DevOps, identity and access management, compliance and risk. The list just goes on of what your responsibilities are. So it's tough being a CISO, and if you want to be one, it's a long road and it holds a lot of responsibility.
Right. So like the next question is very much career related to becoming a CISO. So can you break down the steps for someone who's looking to advance their career to become a Chief Information Security Officer? Any tips that you want to let the people know?
Sure. I mean, first of all, you have to understand IT and infrastructure. So start small. I started my career in help desk, and I just moved up from there. I just kept learning more and more. So start small, start with a SOC position or something. Get some real basic security certifications. And just kind of grow. So let's see. Ask for more work. If you're working in a SOC and you're looking at alerts and fixing problems all day, say, hey, I want to move up to the next level and be a researcher. Or I want to move up to the next level and start doing some real red team, purple team, blue team kind of roles, and just kind of keep moving up the chain. And also figure out what you're really looking for. The CISO role at medium and large companies is more of an administrative role where you have to talk business to the board and the executive team. You're not on the keyboard solving real security problems. So if you aspire to be that, then great. If you want a more hands-on role, then consider being a director of security, a deputy CISO, things like that. The other thing you really have to do is network. So connect with every security person that you can on LinkedIn. Connect with every CISO that will connect to you. Look for a mentor that can kind of help you along the journey. Join every roundtable, every group you can think of that has to do with security, and just keep learning and learning, and the opportunities will come. You just have to make yourself visible, and when people know you and understand what you've been working on, post a lot on LinkedIn about security projects you're working on. It does get noticed, even if you don't get the likes or whatever, but people do look at those. And so if you become very visible on LinkedIn and other platforms that you're an expert in security, you're going to start moving up the chain and get noticed.
Sure, Todd. I think that was those were really valuable tips you gave us. So settling down to the last question for the session, how do you stay informed and up to date on the latest trends? Are there any resources like a book or a podcast or newsletters that you would want to share?
Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of books out there. I won't name any specific ones, but I mostly look at online articles, the latest news that's going on. I joined every roundtable discussion that will allow me, and it's a lot easier these days because all these roundtables are now virtual, so they're a lot easier to join. Just look for the topic that you want to talk about, and they're pretty easy to find. I mentioned networking. Show up at every possible event that will let you in. So I work for a product company, so they don't always let me into all these events, but every event that I can go to, I show up, I talk to people, I figure out what they're working on, because there's always something new coming up. So ChatGPT just came out, and nobody knows what to do with it, right? So now there's all kinds of podcasts on ChatGPT and all the other ones that just popped up out of nowhere. What do we do with that? How do we secure it? There's a lot of discussions around that, and a million other topics. Slack groups. So join as many Slack groups as you can. I'm in probably 20 or 30, and I look at those all day long to see what's happening out there and to ask questions. So Slack is my favorite tool, because if I'm having an issue at my company, I can just say, hey, is anybody else experiencing this issue, and how did you fix it? And I'll get 10 answers back. And so it's a lot more effective than Googling something, because Googling something isn't always accurate. But when you're talking to security professionals in a Slack channel, you're going to get real answers and real solutions. And that's kind of how I keep up to date.
Great. I'm pretty sure these tools are definitely going to help us broaden our knowledge about the industry in itself. So once again, Todd, thanks again. And with that, we've come to an end of our AMA session. Thank you, Todd, for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. We hope that all of you found this session informative. And always remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and we need to do our part to keep our digital world safe and secure. And on an ending note, SaaS Whispers is a private community that offers a space for IT folks to network, learn, and grow together. We host regular AMA sessions, events, and networking mixers. Like Todd says, it's all about networking, right? So come join us in our community. Have a great week ahead, everyone. Until next time.